This episode will contain spoilers for The Sound of... Is it called The Sound of Freedom or
No,
just
it's
Sound of Freedom?
Sound of Freedom.
Okay. Yeah. Don't make that the soundbite. All right. Apparently we're live.
Welcome to the In the Garden podcast with Jake Hughes and Gideon Marlatt. Our special guest today is Bryan Sarchet.
Bryan, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Do you prefer Bryan or Sarchet? Just like as the go-to name for you. I've heard you called both ways.
You know, either honestly works.
I've heard it both ways.
Just don't spell my name with an I.
Sarchet?
Do not spell my my
Bryan.
first name.
Sarchet with an I.
Yeah.
Well, the actual proper name to be calling him is Sarchet.
Sarchet?
Well, it's a silent T, but I just like to call him Sarchet.
No.
No, guys, don't
Yeah.
actually.
So Bryan, you tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you go to school, first of all?
Well, most of you will be shocked by this, but I'm another new St. Andrews student.
No, really?
Wow,
Yeah.
I know. We reach far and wide with our interview pool.
Hey, only the best. Yeah. So I'm in my junior year, and it's been great. I love it.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so for this episode today, we have yet another movie review for you guys.
Man,
This one's...
I feel like we need to branch out after this.
Yeah, we do. Maybe do. So, Bryan, let's talk about this movie. First of all, can you introduce what movie you want to talk about today?
Okay, well, we're going to talk about Sound of Freedom. I've seen it 3 times. So first time I went with my parents and then next 2 times with friends here. So it's just a very special film. I don't think I've seen anything this year that actually deals with serious topics and can bring up the discussion of God's grace in a serious way that's not like some cheesy, pure flicksy sort of thing.
Hey, Bryan, that's not true, right?
Oh,
We dealt with some very, very pertinent male and female issues in Barbie. Okay?
No. You had to bring it up, Gideon.
Sorry.
I mean, the patriarchy part was kind of cool. I was digging the horses
cool.
and the pull-up bar and the mink.
Yeah.
Mink coat. That part was great.
The mink coat.
If you guys saw the trailer, you might recall that Bryan was actually with us in the theater when we
that's
watched
right.
Barbie.
Yeah.
Remember that? I'm so
fantastic.
sorry that Carter took you with us to see that movie, but
I mean, I think I was basically an more emotional support
Yeah.
friend.
you were there to keep our sanity.
He could take the punishment while we were
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this movie is a great palate cleanser. Or
True.
maybe in
It's more than a palate cleanser.
for Barbie.
It is.
I don't know if I should call it a palate cleanser
No,
actually,
it's-
because
well-
it deals with a very, very serious topic. Let me introduce this film right off the bat. I'll read the summary off of Google, the most trusted source on the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's see how well this goes. After rescuing a boy from ruthless child traffickers, a federal agent learns that the boy's sister is still captive and decides to embark on a dangerous mission to save her. With time running out, he quits his job and journeys deep into the Colombian jungle, putting his life on the line to free her from a fate worse than death. That summary was actually not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the past,
Yeah,
we've
it's
read
not
pretty terrible summaries, like 1-sentence summaries, but that one actually summed it up pretty well. So, Bryan, before you saw this movie, like, what were your, suspicions coming into the movie? Like, what were your expectations? Yeah.
Well, when I saw the trailer, which I haven't seen the trailer for a while, but
I don't think I've actually seen the trailer.
I don't know that maybe I haven't. I just saw the sign, but just knowing that Jim Caviezel was starring in it was kind of a plus. I love Jim Caviezel's work. He's just a great actor. I'd never heard of the director. I forget his name, but
Is he new on the scene? Do we know?
he's a Mexican Catholic director, so he's, I think, more familiar, probably not in U.S. cinemas.
Okay.
I'm just guessing.
Okay.
He
seemed pretty experienced.
Well, he does a great job. He actually plays the billionaire friend in the movie.
Oh, really?
That's the
that's
director of the film. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's
He's
got like the chiseled chin and he's got the act out.
That guy?
He looks the part.
I know. Yeah. But
I'm worried.
just coming into it, I read summaries. I did a little research.
Yeah.
and I was impressed. I mean, granted, it's from Angel Studios, so I was a little
Well, okay.
like, this could be good, this could be bad.
What is Angel Studios?
So Angel Studios, the angel part of it is a reference to Moroni.
Mhm.
So
Wait,
the,
what?
the film is it's a Mormon film company. And so they do some really great work. You just have to keep in mind whenever there's anything that has Christians involved in it and they're going to put that in a story, there's going to be a Mormon spin on it.
Right.
And of course, Tim Ballard, the main character of the story, the unnamed federal agent, is actually a Mormon. Which is funny because Jim Caviezel is like very Roman Catholic. And he's playing a Mormon. So
Wow, this is
yeah.
Two worlds colliding.
The
right
plot
here.
thickens, you know.
Yeah.
this is this is the best mix you could ever have. It's like the beginning of a bad joke.
Mm-hmm.
See a Mormon, well, how does a Catholic playing a Mormon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I can say for a lot of us, especially in this community, when we went to see the film, we didn't exactly know what we were going into, just because, you know, basically all that we knew is this is a film about child sex trafficking. Okay. What do I do with that information? Does that mean this is a movie that we shouldn't maybe watch, or
Yeah, going into
does it depict it in a way that's pornographic in itself, or what's, you know, what should we expect going into this? I think a lot of us were pleasantly surprised on how well it dealt with the issue.
Yeah.
It was very
Overall.
tasteful. I mean, it was tasteful, but yet it conveyed the horror and just the grossness of that industry.
No, I was kind of surprised that the narrative that the narrative style that they went with. I going into it, I didn't really know what I was gonna see. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I actually kind of thought it was just gonna be some sort of documentary. But yeah, like far from it. It was very well what actionized.
Executed?
Well, I mean, executed. There was good action. There was, I mean, like it wasn't just it wasn't a message
Mm-hmm.
movie. I mean, you
It's not a faith-based film in the same way.
Yeah,
that
what is that?
A Pure Flix.
well,
what is that group that
Pure Flix?
produces? Huh?
Pureflix or Lions?
Maybe.
Wait. Okay.
It was it's the same people that did like Flywheel or Facing the Giants or
Oh, the Kendrick brothers, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
you're like, I mean, this got some good messaging, but like
Execution is
kinda-
poor.
Yeah, you're like
These are
you
good
could-
ideas in theory.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it did a far better job than that. So because I think it made it very realistic. I mean, the fight sequences, very cool. I mean, it was believable. Like, yes, this guy seems like he was actually trained for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to tell you, Gideon, but the critics kind of disagree with you. I hate to say it, but this movie got 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. As of the recording of this podcast, it might drop, but I think something that we should talk about is the fact that critics are divided about this movie.
Divided.
And
Actually, hold on. What was the audience review?
the audience review, it doesn't say. It says 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. I don't know if that's audience score or not, but it doesn't have an audience score when I look it up. But
Interesting.
well, you have to keep in mind that the film critics and especially like the newspaper critics, a number of them referred to this as a QAnon conspiracy film and basically said that,
of course it is.
well, what's really funny is I think one of the op-ed writers for Bloomberg, who actually identifies as minor attracted, so he's a
brother.
pedophile. He's a disgusting man.
A minor attracted person?
Yeah, a
Is that what
map.
they're called nowadays?
Or target practice, but
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Anyway,
You gonna bleep that out, Carter?
Hey, it's okay.
You probably should. Anyway.
hey, it's okay.
but
The,
my point being
First
is,
Amendment.
you know, he was just like, well, that's not how that works, and he basically just criticized it as over dramatizing the issue. And
Speaking as a
Wow,
minor
looks like-
attracted person.
Yeah, I was gonna say that man sounds like he's got experience in this situation.
Did that guy build on his ethos or destroy it by
Well-
saying, "Oh, that's not actually how it works"?
well, I'm like, you just dug a 6-foot hole in front of you.
Yeah.
I
You
know.
know, are you gonna jump in or
Yeah.
like just kind of tiptoe to the edge?
Gosh.
So
Well,
anyway,
I think the
I'm not
rest
saying all the critics are like that, but I'm just saying the most like
Blatant.
impassioned, blatant critics are literally pedophiles.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's no.
And they're all giving high scores to Netflix films, which glorify stuff like that, right?
Yeah, no, seriously, which is kind of I don't know. The movie is very much a sword. It splits.
Oh,
you know your loyalties pretty quickly based on how you react.
yeah.
It's a movie that pulls a punch, and we know that because a lot of the theaters, I've heard a lot of stories about this. A lot of theaters are trying to shut it down.
Really?
Shut down, showing the movie. I've seen videos on social media of, theater managers walking into the theater being like, "Sorry, the projector just broke," or "Sorry, we can't show this film. We have to clean the screen," or something like that. They're just lame excuses. I didn't even know you cleaned the screen at movie theaters, but
There's so much stuff going on there. I mean, just so much light.
They just clean it once a year.
I know.
Yeah, but the thing is still the same. They don't want this movie out there. They don't want to show this movie, even though the studios have paid millions of dollars to put these into theaters. They don't want to show it because why wouldn't they want to show it?
Well, it's probably because
does it go against
the
their
industry,
agenda? Perhaps
there's a lot of money involved.
The industry that's producing the things that they show that in order to get money is heavily based off of this. That's at least what I've heard. Hollywood is known for its pervertedness.
Yeah.
This not being least among them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, when in the movie it talks about some sort of Colombia, Thailand, LA is one of the places that they list as some of these like hot spots where a lot of this goes down. And I mean, LA, like that's Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. It's the belly of the beast.
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah, I don't know. What was your take on a lot of the reactions I mean, since you've seen it three times, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, 3 times. So seeing it 3 times, being in the theater 3 times, did you kind of see a range of reactions from people? I don't know, crying or annoyed or angry or I don't know.
Most of the people who came there seemed even the men were emotionally affected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, it depended. So sometimes I went, like 2 of the times I went, the theater was really full. Then there's one time I went and it was a later showing and it was kind of empty. But usually most of the women were crying or had cried at some point.
Yeah.
That was also true of a number of the guys. I mean, the first time I saw it, I cried a little bit because, that's awful. You know, what happens. So I think Jim Caviezel has a message at the end of the film where he's as himself, not playing Tim Ballard.
Right.
And he kind of wants this to be the Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's actually the metaphor he uses against child sex slavery. And there's a sense where if you watch the film, there's no way if you're like a healthy, normal person to not be emotionally and I guess morally offended by what goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw it, we went to the Lewiston Theater. Lewiston's like a half-hour, 45-minute drive away. And I was excited to see the movie going in. And then on the drive home, I didn't say a single word because I went with my family and we were just silent the entire way back because it was that heavy of a topic. And Jim Caviezel's message at the end of the movie, there's like a post-credits exhortation that he gives the audience. It really cut deep with a lot of audience members I saw, and including my family. We knew that we had an obligation to tell people about this film. It's that kind of movie. It's just like everybody needs to see this at least once.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've seen it twice, and it's kind of a hard movie to watch a couple of times just because the subject matter is very dark, and it's the dark reality that happens every day. I mean, there's statistics at the end of the film. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but the numbers are pretty striking as to how many children are being sold into slavery every single day. I'm getting choked up talking about it, but just like how many kids are victims of, trafficking in today's day and age.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a heavy topic.
And generally speaking, generally speaking, as America and the West are largely at fault for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a sense where when you watch the film, it's kind of almost a call to personal action in your life. Because, I mean, obviously, most of us are not participating in that kind of sinful, wicked behavior. But
Yeah.
it kind of calls you to look at your life and see, what am I doing that enables, what am I doing that like seems harmless? And then meanwhile, some other person on the other side of the world is like getting beat up in an alley because, of what I'm buying or looking at,
Well, like what?
Well, I mean, especially for like the United States and the West, anywhere with technology, I mean, pornography fuels this.
Yeah.
And granted, that's not necessarily just people looking for, like child pornography. Just the whole industry itself fuels it.
Well, I mean, there was, even in the film, it talks about, I mean, yeah, those kids who are brought into it are not. I mean, it's not like they. I mean, one and done. It's a continual use, and they're forced. They're kept in there. It's slavery.
Yeah,
So
I mean, until they like age. Well, I mean, they don't really age out.
no.
I mean, it's basically until you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. So that, I mean, it's just you're in there from when you're however young till well past adulthood.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it's just some of the despicable things that you can. I agree. But the participation in pornography online, just, I mean, that's not, because you're not affecting them. It's almost as if the older is still being affecting the younger.
Yeah, and I mean, even just when people support that kind of content, they're supporting the people who make that content,
Yeah.
and then the people who make that content are, they're evil, but they're really smart businessmen. I mean,
Right.
they know their crowd.
It wouldn't be
and
a $1
so-
billion industry without smart businessmen.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so that's how money gets funneled to these, kind of niches, I guess you could say, which makes it really hard. This, we'll tie back the movie in here. Makes it really hard for people like Tim Ballard in a government position to do a lot about it.
Right.
Because when you have so much money involved, that means you have more people in the government and
More
just
people wanting to protect it.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I looking at some of that, because I mean, as much as some of these reviewers or I mean, some of these people who are reviewing this film and calling it a sort of deep state conspiracy theory, is that what they called it?
QAnon conspiracy.
Pizzagate,
Pizzagate. I think that while there is some elements of far reaching, like, okay, that's maybe a little too far.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, there's still elements of, like, there's corruption everywhere we look. I mean, men are evil. It's not like we're looking at every government official or every celebrity or every person like this and just saying that they're automatically a part of this or they're somehow just as corrupt as some of these others can be. I definitely think that there's people who are wanting to protect it in positions of power that can be involved, whether explicitly or not.
Oh, definitely.
So I mean, yeah. So I think there's just elements of like you said, if the more money's in the business itself, the more far-reaching it is, which means the more people who may be even unknowingly participating know about it. Now, not to say that, I mean, there's people that worry about, like, oh, is this shoelace made in China by slaves? And it's like,
is this chocolate okay to eat?
I know,
Like, was it fair trade? And did they, like use a copper axe to cut down,
exactly. Yeah. It's just like, okay, is there, it has to be within reason, But I mean, obviously, if there's elements of ways that we can, I mean, kill this, there's no other
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
I remember watching. I mean, this is related. So, I mean, I remember watching a clip of an interview with a adult ex film star, um, and she was saying that if people knew what was actually happening behind the scenes in the industry, nobody would watch pornography.
Oh yeah.
And it's this. I think they're trying to, fulfill the same purpose with this film. Just like if you knew what was actually going on behind the scenes, and it depicts it really, really accurately and really, if that's a way to say it. But it's shocking, the truth behind it, and it's eye-opening. It's revealing of, oh, maybe I can't look at porn as an adult and think that this doesn't go anywhere. I can't imagine a guy with a porn problem going to see this movie. I can't imagine him not being affected by what he's seeing. So it's a really amazing film, and I think we all should see it.
It's definitely deserving of a watch by anyone. I mean, even I know you said it's a hard movie to watch a second time,
Mhm.
but I've only watched it once. But I think it deserves probably another watch.
Mhm.
Even because there's some things that you probably just don't get in the first watch. I mean, you might have experienced this, Brian, just with seeing it 3 times. Did you pick up on anything that was just like, oh, I didn't catch that the first time, or something hits a little bit heavier?
I think one of the things that hit really heavily for me the more I watched it is the pennant. And for those of you who've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But there's
Mhm.
basically the Aguilars, so the brother and sister that get mugged, basically, and kidnapped and separated. The sister has a pennant. I think it's like a prayer to Saint Timothy.
Tomateo.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Timoteo.
San Timoteo. And so she gives it to her brother before they get separated,
Yeah.
basically to protect and watch over him. And then Tim Ballard, through crazy series of events, manages to free the boy and is having a burger with him. And the boy gives it to Tim Ballard. But what he does before giving him the pennant and says, "Wait, are you San Timoteo?" That's essentially what he asks. Are you the
Yeah.
saint that watches over kids?
Yeah.
And you can just see, I mean, Jim Caviezel is obviously portraying what Tim felt, but Tim is just kind of like shocked, like, whoa, this is kind of coincidental, dare I say providential,
Yeah.
how this
Yeah.
works out. But the pennant follows the entire story. And eventually it makes it full circle back to the sister
Right.
when Tim rescues her, gets her to this hospital in Bogota, Colombia.
It's a great moment.
It's a great moment. And that's, her dad and brother about to be reunited with her. And Tim gives her the pennant back. And he kind of does it. Well, I guess that's a little before all this happened, but it's kind of like proof like, hey, I'm Timoteo. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And so it's just this really charming fatherly touch that Tim Ballard brings to it, because you have to understand the guy has, I think, 8 children, and his kids were at home with his wife while he's literally going into Colombia in a zone that,
risking his life.
yeah, solo, by the way. I mean,
Yeah. No longer under the protection of government agencies.
yeah, no firearms.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just pretending to be a UN doctor.
It's very impressive, the lengths that he goes to. I think that though the pendant of Saint Timoteo is very. I mean, they really use that effectively as this sort of driving force and throughout the movie. Because it's just every time he sees that, every time you see as the audience member, you're always calling back to that. Okay, why is he here? What is his mission? And it really is effective on how it's driving the story forward and driving you emotionally forward.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, another thing I want to bring up before we bring this in for a landing, I watched this with our buddy Ethan Bernard. We know Ethan, right?
Oh yeah.
And
We love
we were
Ethan.
we were
Ethan.
talking afterwards on the car ride home, and we were both saying how amazing we thought the movie was. But the only thing that we had the only bone we had to pick with the movie was, if only this movie were not made by Mormons and Catholics. Why aren't Christians making these kind of movies?
Well,
I mean,
okay.
why aren't Protestant Christians making these kind of movies? Just like, is it because we try to stay away from those areas of life? Protestant filmmakers today are just like, we can't make a film about child sex trafficking. Are you crazy? No one's gonna fund that. We can't get executive producers to make something like that.
Well,
But it's an interesting thought.
I'm not. I think there's a sense where, especially with, you have to understand that Angel Studios funds it, but it's really Jim Caviezel who's the talent who pulls it off.
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to understand that I don't know. It's just Jim Caviezel. I'm sorry.
It's just Jim Caviezel.
We Protestants do not have a Jim Caviezel, really.
Yes, we do. His name is Kirk Cameron.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
When you compare people, someone else gets put down. Let's not do that to Mr. Cameron.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate pairing that you just did there.
Although to kind of surround this, the movie was actually made like 4 or 5 years ago.
I know, that was the amazing thing.
Yeah, and they've been fighting that many years just to get it in theaters. So,
yeah.
Wow.
Because all of this fun stuff happened in like 2011 or something? Anyway, sorry, Gideon.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it was just amazing that they had fought it for that long. And even the style that they use, I know that even in that message that follows up in the post credits, you get this. Jim Caviezel is kind of imploring you to say, "Hey, pay it forward." There's a QR code that shows up that you can actually go to a website and pay it and donate to the cause, and then you can pay it forward to the next person. It's kind of a cool concept, and it really is that sort of like crowd-funded. This is what the people want to see. This is what the people get, pretty much. And I think it's really well done. It's a lot more movies are coming out like that. Especially, with The Chosen. I think there's been a couple other movies like that.
Angel Studios is doing a really good job of actually putting out content like Sound of Freedom. The Chosen and all those different not faith-based films in the same way that PureFlix is, but they're all centered around a gospel-like message.
Yeah, and they're not doing a crappy job while they're actually trying to put some decent effort into it, which sucks that they're Mormon.
Yeah, it's so annoying. It's like you literally have God's grace right in front of you, and you're telling a story of God's grace, but then you don't have God's grace.
I know, right?
It's like, come on, man.
Dang it.
Just like, oh, you're so close.
I know.
Okay. It was kind of like watching What is a Woman? The Daily Wire documentary is just like, oh, this is a great documentary. Oh, he's a Catholic. He'll do.
Well,
okay, Roman Catholics are better than Mormons. Let's just establish that.
They're at least closer. I know you were telling me something that you were doing a lot of research before or after this movie, after you watched it a couple times. What'd you find?
So actually, this is really interesting. So the movie has motivated some change, it appears.
Really?
So I forget how long after the movie came out, but basically the FBI busted. They busted. I don't know if the two cases are connected. They busted a child pornography ring and took down, I think, dozens of people. And then they teamed up with the Aussies. I don't know what
the Aussies.
Australians.
Okay.
Those Aussies.
Yeah.
I was like, the Ozzy Osbourne?
No.
What
yeah,
are you
no.
talking about?
They went down under, but they teamed up with Australia and did a joint crackdown on a global child pornography ring, which I don't think had as many arrests, but the implications are far more significant.
Yeah.
In terms of like, okay, kind of took down the head honchos in a sense.
Yeah. The film really is making that.
Yeah, it really is. And even when Tim Ballard, this is before the film came out, he testified to Congress. I forget if this is the end of the Obama administration or beginning of the Trump administration, but the House passed a few more laws that better enabled federal agencies to cooperate with international foreign agencies. So like Tim Ballard
Did a lot of the legwork.
Yeah, he did a lot of the legwork. I mean, one of his whole thing for quitting Homeland Security was because Homeland Security is for the homeland, for America. And so it wasn't because Homeland Security was against what he was doing. It was simply because, look, we have to focus on ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's a little more international cooperation where it's like, well, actually, this is a threat to us and it's a threat to you and it's wrong. So let's go take care of this.
Fair enough. I mean, honestly, I'm a little okay with Homeland Security just being worried about the homeland. I mean, that being said, I mean, you definitely want that. I mean, they're there to protect the good and dissuade the evil. So if there's a way we could do that, yeah.
Tim Ballard is what Christian men should strive to be, in all aspects. He's a chonk.
Yeah, he's admirable. Very well trained too. I mean, he graduated from Brigham Young University, which, of course, that's like the Mormon university. But he went from there into Homeland Security as a special agent. And a special agent is basically, it's like a detective combined with SWAT training. So you wouldn't really want to say it's like the special forces of Homeland Security because that's not how, Homeland Security works. But he's very well trained. And of course, you see that when he, rescues Rocio Aguilar from the cartel guy in Colombia. There's a little snap, crackle, pop, as in the guy's neck, so.
Yeah.
That part was also like justice,
Well, Bryan, thank you so much for being on the show. We got to wrap it up right now. I really should recommend to everybody listening, go watch Sound of Freedom. It's really worth your time.
Yeah, please do.
Any last comments about Sound of Freedom that you want everybody to know?
I don't know. I mean, you should go watch it. Have your friends watch it.
Scan the QR code at the end of the movie.
Yes. So basically anything Jim Caviezel tells you to do, just do it.
Careful with that.
Except pray to Mary. Just don't pray to Mary, but everything else, do that. So on that note, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Go watch Sound of Freedom. This is In the Garden with Jake Hughes, Gideon Marlatt, and our special guest, Bryan Sarchet.
Adios.
I almost said Bryan Suave. I almost did that so many times.
Sarchet.